Hello everybody, here's my weekly update about how Caesar and I are getting along here in Panama. Still in the same apartment, still only allowed to leave for a few hours a week on our specified days, according to gender, at our specified times, according to number on our passports. This week a couple of things have changed. This week men were allowed to leave on Saturday for the first time in many weeks, which I think has made a lot of people very happy, so that's really nice to see. Still only allowed to leave for that 1 hour with half an hour each side travel time. We have heard that the airport, Tocumen, may open on the 23rd of June, so we've still got over a month to wait before some flights in a limited number may possibly begin to happen again. We still don't know when immigration is going to open. We haven't heard from our lawyer, who will tell us when she knows. The last we heard it would be anywhere from the 15th of May to the end of May. The 15th has come and gone on Friday and it hasn't happened yet, so I was always thinking maybe toward the end of the month. So we're still waiting for immigration to reopen for so we can file that visa application that we've got ready to go, that we were ready to file on the very day that immigration closed. What else has changed? Oh yeah, so as of next week, previously you've only been allowed to go out in your allocated hour only to go to the supermarket or a pharmacy, so only for absolutely essential necessary needs. And as of next week you're going to be allowed to go out just for a walk, just to have some exercise, so that's nice. Sadly, beaches are still closed. Sadly, surfing is still not allowed. But I mean, we're still not at a beach, and we still don't even have surfboards, left those behind in Texas. So our plan is still the same. Wait until immigration opens, file a visa, and then if the airport's open and if we can get a flight, we might consider going back to Texas, as we had originally planned, to spend some time with family who we really miss, particularly given everything that's happened here. So we're watching the situation in Texas, particularly Austin, Texas, which is where we would be going, really carefully. I want to make sure if we go back that it's going to be safe to do so, and that if we do get sick, the healthcare system in Austin is not at capacity. And that's not just if we get sick with COVID, that's if we get sick with anything. I don't want to really be in a place that has a healthcare system stretched at to or beyond capacity, like New York City had for a while. That would not be a safe place to go. I have found a source or a company where I think we can get health insurance while we travel, which will cover us if we get COVID and need hospitalisation for it. Because one of the original big concerns was, if we do go back to the States and we are unlucky enough to get COVID, our travel insurance wouldn't cover us, and I don't want to end up with a bill of $60,000-70,000 US for that. So I'm not prepared to go back to the United States until we have good health insurance that will cover almost all of that cost. So I'm looking into that carefully, and I think I may have found some. I'm only going to say one other thing about COVID in general this week. I noticed when it began, a lot of people in the media and social media saying things like, it's just pretty much the normal flu, what's the big deal, everyone's overreacting, governments are overreacting, it's ridiculous. Time goes on, we see how Spain didn't cope, we saw how Italy didn't cope particularly well, we saw rising death tolls and horrible images of large numbers of bodies in body bags. We saw what happened with New York City, we saw mass graves. Here in Central America, I think we've been a little bit more aware of the situation in Ecuador, down in South America, because it's geographically closer to us than it is back to friends and family in New Zealand, and there they had bodies in the streets. So those are not situations you want to actively be putting yourself into. So now I've noticed that line has sort of evolved and now morphed into these deaths, these people who are dying, that they say are dying from COVID, well, a lot of these people are actually dying from other causes. They might have died from cancer, or they might have died from heart disease, and so the number of people who are dying from COVID is being over-exaggerated, it's being inflated for economic purposes or political purposes. Now, I'm sure there is most likely some of that happening. I think at the same time there's probably also, as they found in Spain and Italy, and also that I think they've recently found in the UK, there are a number of deaths probably from COVID that have not been reported as COVID. So there's a really easy way to answer that problem. Is it really not that big of a problem because all these people who are supposedly died of COVID actually died from something else? Well, you can find out. How you can find out should be relatively simple. You can look at the average number of deaths for the same time in the same place in previous years. So let's look at April 2020 and compare it to April previous years. If you're looking at the same time of the year, you're looking at the same conditions that happen every year because you're going to have seasonal fluctuations in the number of deaths. So look at the same month. So I'll put the links to the data I found from the CDC just down below, and it wasn't actually that easy to find, and I had trouble finding the number of deaths for April 2019, but I did find deaths for April 2020 and for April 2018. And what I found was April 2020 had just under 285,000. April 2018, a couple of years ago, had about 233,000. So that's a difference of just under 52,000. And we know that the one thing that's very different between last year, the year before, and now, April 2020, is COVID-19. So that's usually how epidemiologists are going to figure out how many people died over a specific time period from a specific epidemic or pandemic. You look at the number of deaths for that time and you compare it to previous years, and that's your excess deaths. So it does look like it is a fairly serious cause of death. I think one of the leading causes of deaths in the United States, or two of the top, I think, are heart disease and cancer, and they're about 50-odd thousand or so. So it looks like basically you've added another leading cause of death for this particular time. So we're waiting and watching to see if the situation in Texas is safe for us to go back. And in the meantime, now that La Seca here in Panama, or the dry law, has been lifted in Panama, I've bought myself some ingredients, and when you're in the tropics, you buy what's local and what's fresh and what's available. So I bought limes and I bought pineapple, and I'm going to show you how I've figured out how to make a pretty good pina colada. So that's coming next. Okay, so I'm going to make the ultimate pina colada. I have some Havana Club in lieu of white rum. I think this is better. I've got some really, really good quality dark rum, not dark, but a really nice, beautiful, smooth rum. I've got some fresh pineapple, got some limes, and I've got, give it a bit of a shake, some Coco Lopez coconut cream. This is really good stuff. So I've got one small tin of this, or half a large tin. I'm going to chop up the pineapple first of all. And this is one of the keys, I think, fresh pineapple rather than pineapple juice from a can or a carton. The fresh pineapple makes all the difference. I'm sure there's probably a more accurate and better way to slice up a pineapple, but pineapples aren't really in my repertoire. We're getting there. It's surprising how little the pineapple you actually end up using once you take out the tough core and you take out all the ends. think 2 actually might be enough. So that's three. 6 ounces of dark rum. Is that too full? We'll see. And there you have the ultimate pina colada. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. There's so many of them. That's one thing I really noticed about this place, the profusion of bird life. And New Zealand's supposed to be the land of birds. Well, they sure have a lot of birds here too. It's amazing. So far we've noticed a lot of brown pelicans and a lot of vultures, which actually look really pretty when they're flying. I don't know what these birds are. What are these? Those aren't pelicans. No, they don't swarm like that. Some kind of duck, okay. Are they migrating maybe? They're heading north, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're migrating. There's so many of them. It's fascinating to watch them form lines and flocks and how they move and change leader, and super cool. And it's really hazy here. Like you can see the humidity in the air. I can't even see the horizon properly today. And the ocean looks grey because it's overcast. And there's the city over there.